Hello, welcome to the Hive of This podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Martinez. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Eddie Wilson.
And oftentimes where there's space of of a lack of understanding, we fill it with a negative.
Yeah,
Um, where there's a lack of communication, there's always negative filling that space. And I think that it's a very interesting thing. But if somebody actually spent a day, a week, a month, a year with me, they'd realize like everything. Like I am wealthy, I have wealth, and things are going very well. But what I do with my wealth, I'm so, intentional about, that I actually am making massive impact on people who don't have wealth. And for me, there's no greater fulfillment. And, I grew up in a very faith based home. I know you did too. And so to me, faith is a huge part of what I do, but it's broader than that, right? Like, I have TV studios and radio stations around the world that I still own and operate. But a few years ago, I started what's called Impact Others. And we really exist in four areas. The first area is feeding and educating underprivileged children around the world. The more and more I travel, the more I see that education is so desperately needed in these third world countries that the only way for them to get out of their situation is education. But oftentimes they can't receive the education unless the basic needs are met. And so we'll feed them and then educate them. And so we have feeding and education centers. Then secondly, we have orphanages. There's kids that just, they don't have parent, they don't have a structure. And I'd much rather have a feeding center and an education center. But then there's some that like there's just so many issues that you don't have a choice but to have an orphanage. So we have orphanages. Thirdly, we do clean water. And it's just one of those basic needs that is so missed and neglected around the world. And so yes, all over Africa, Pakistan, India, we're digging clean water wells. And primarily through the process of like a borehole, so like a deep water well that's just going to last for generations. And some of these places we're going into, like we're digging wells in places that have not had clean water in 2,000 years. Like their ancestors have lived in these places for 2,000 years, and for 2,000 years they've had to walk miles to get water. They're parasitic, like there's parasites in their bodies because they don't have clean water. They don't have hygiene issues. Like it's a mess, right? And so to go in and provide a village clean water, and we spend $3,000 to $6,000 on that, it's life changing for them. And then lastly, we build sustainable businesses. As I build those ecosystems around the world, what my belief is that you have to teach them to also create. And so we built, I think, 17 or 18 sustainable businesses today in those communities. So, like, we have an orphanage or a feeding center or a TV studio or whatever we own. We're oftentimes then coming in and finding an individual that has the ability to create and getting behind them. And instead of doing it like a micro loan where it's like, hey, I'll give you the money to start your business, then you give it back to me. What we do is a pay it forward model where we'll start the business for you, we'll teach you, we'll train you, but you have to give a portion to the community so that I don't always have to bring dollars from the US over. And I really don't want to repatriate dollars. Like, I don't want to lose through taxation money being brought back into the US. Once it's outside the country, I don't want it back. I want it to perpetuate something great there. And so we've built taxi companies in Ghana. We've built a woodworking plant in Laos. We've built sewing centers in Guadalajara. We've got a water buffalo farm in India, sewing centers in Pakistan, sewing centers in Nigeria, a grinding facility in Nigeria. It's like for us, like I'm building chicken farms in Guyana. We get our hands dirty by helping these people build. And so like, I'll give you one just quick, case study. So a good friend of mine down in Guadalajara, Mexico, has a church and wanted to reach more people, wanted to help more people. And I walked in and I said, hey, this is non-traditional what I'm about to say to you. And I know that the way you normally think about life and missions and outreach is going to be radically different than what I say. But just follow me. Like, what if I built a business here? Like we were already giving money to help the poor and feed them and give food bags. And we had a little education center going there. And I was like, what if I built a business here? And then off of this business, we actually allow this thing to grow. So it's not always my dollars, causing growth. We started a sewing center in Guadalajara, and we began to help underprivileged women, some that had been rescued out of sex trafficking and all kinds of crazy stuff, come in and work. But in the sewing center, we were making products and then selling the products. And then we also one of the mandates were they had to go into college. Like they had to actually get a higher education. So they weren't just sewing, right? Like I wanted them to get educated and take a next step forward. We then took the proceeds of that to grow the philanthropic side of what we were doing. It began to generate about $2,500 a month in profit almost immediately, which then we started feeding and educating 350 children a week. We started paying for 4 or 5, maybe 10 other students to go to a college. We actually built a park there in their community, full on, like you can go back and watch the videos. Like I was helping pour concrete and lay everything, it's like a legit park, basketball courts, soccer fields, stuff like that. And now that sewing facility, it facilitates a television broadcast. It's like all kinds of stuff, and I don't have to continue to feed it, right? Like it's actually making massive impact on the community. So now what I say is like, hey, how many more dollars can I put into this to build a bigger sewing ministry or facility? Like how many? And so now we've doubled, tripled, quadrupled the size of it, right? Now it's producing more income. Now we started an e-com brand that's actually selling dresses back into the US that they sew, right? And I'm building this massive business that becomes the machine of the entire outreach. And for me, that's super gratifying because like I have built a business here that just pumped cash into Mexico? Yeah. And there's always issues. Do is that community growing and getting better because of what we built? 1,000 times more than me just sending money, right? Like it's teaching people how to work, it's teaching them a fair wage, it's putting people through college, it's feeding children, it's educating children, it's growing the community. And to me, that's what impact others is all about.
This has been the greatest. I think this is the greatest use of capitalism and philanthropy all in one.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of that before, but it made it gave me and it's your vision, but it's amazing because it's driving commerce locally to drive philanthropy locally, and I love that the dollars never have to come back.
Right.
I want the dollars to stay there, whatever type of dollar it is.
Right. And to me, like we started a chicken farm in Guyana, and it's like I'll seed it, I'll get it going, but then it's like we'll teach them how to grow it and to expand it. And I call it, you hit the nail on the head. I call it cause capitalism. That's the term that I use all the time. Like I am a capitalist through and through. I believe that if I'm going to do business, I should make money. However, I believe that my money should actually make an impact that's greater than just the greed of holding it myself. And so I teach that globally is that we're going to generate capital, right? Like, and we're going to hold ourselves accountable to profitability. But when we do that, that profit is going to create impact. And that's the measurable, not the profitability. The measurable is how many people are we impacting. And so to me, that's where capitalism, we can actually create a force for good, where I call it cause capitalism. Whereas instead of capitalism typically looks at it and says, how profitable am I? Cause capitalism says my profit is going to create impact. How impactful am I?
Ooh. This has been an amazing, amazing, amazing episode. I'm going to cut this episode into three pieces, and we're going to release it in part one, part two, and part three because I think we covered three different things, and I don't want to like. I hate people like I'm not going to get to the end. Like, no, you have to get to the end on stuff like this because we covered three amazing topics, and this has been amazing. Aspire Tour. Can you tell us a little about that and where people can little about that?
One of the big things that was a big passion of this past year was I wanted to create an environment that really took aspiring entrepreneurs and gave them a place to learn and focus. The whole point of the Aspire Tour, and it was to drive, again, impact. So I start off every morning at the Aspire Tour talking about, I can teach you something today that would revolutionize your life. I can bring these people on this stage, but in the end, make a promise to me that we're going to go make impact that's greater than us. And we start with kind of the whole impact purpose side of it. And then I bring out my friends. We bring out Alex Rodriguez and Kevin Hart and Kevin O'Leary and Mark Cuban, and all these guys come and speak for me every single month. And every month we make a stop somewhere in America. We just left LA and Denver, and then we'll be in Miami, Orlando, New York City. We literally, our biggest event of the year will be July 20th, where we rented out Madison Square Garden. And we're doing a big, massive one. We've got Stephen A. and Alex Rodriguez and David Ortiz and Marcus Lemonis and Kevin O'Leary. And it's a crazy lineup in New York City. And then we go on to Phoenix and Houston. And all big cities across America. And so to me, it's a great place for entrepreneurs to kind of come together, find inspiration, and then I try to just sow that give back attitude and mentality into it.
Amazing, amazing. Everybody go check it out. Aspire Tour will be down below and it's on the screen right here. Definitely go check it out. I'm excited. I know, like I said, I didn't know what you were doing up to this point, and this is why I love stuff like this, because this just opens up opportunities and doors for everybody here. Definitely go check it out. This has been amazing. Go like, share, subscribe. You know what to do. Go check out Aspire Tour. Go see Eddie live in person somewhere in the United States. And thanks for coming on, man. This has been amazing.
Thank you. Great to catch back up.
Hey, if you have any deals you'd like to submit to the Hive Mind and our team, go to hivebc.io. It's actually the Hive Buyers Club. Submit your deals and we can hopefully dispose your deal for you. Have a great day.